What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. We're back in Historic here with a Rakdos list, kind of a control deck, basically. Not super confident in running it in a rank, so we're just going to do some best of one unranked. Does have some powerful spells in here, Planeswalkers and whatnot, so you could definitely hold your own in some of the ranked queues, I believe, just because of some of the power level of some of the Planeswalkers and creatures that we are running. We'll definitely give you a chance, at least at the lower levels, but I'm not super confident this deck is something that can actually help you rank up. But the reason that we're playing this deck is Fraying Omnipotence. Just love these powerful cards that seem like they are hard to build around, and they are, but have these super powerful effects. And Fraying Omnipotence is a card that sees no play. I think I've played against it just a couple of times where people cast it against me, and if that. I know I've played with it a few times just because I want to try to figure out ways to make it work. And this one we're basically just running a Rakdos Planeswalker deck, but mostly just focus on like Chandra and Liliana. So Fraying Omnipotence, 5 mana, sorcery speed. Each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the creatures they control, rounding up each time. So pretty crazy card here, right? So it affects us as well, so we definitely have to take that into consideration. However, if you look at cards like Chandra, +1 to exile the top card of your library, you can play it this turn. So it doesn't even draw you a card that you have to potentially worry about discarding. You can just keep it in exile with Chandra. It is one card though, but mostly as far as the Fraying Omnipotence goes, it's the -7 where you've got your opponent's life total down to half from whatever it was, and then you -7 here, and anytime you move loyalty counters from this Chandra here, you're dealing damage to opponent or Planeswalker. So Chandra here can be able to kind of help you kill your opponent just with her -7, and you're going to find 7 cards in your library to play among your top 7 cards. You're going to find some pretty powerful cards to play. So if nothing else, that'll help you win the game as well. And also Chandra, Heart of Fire, 5 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker, +1 and discard your hand. Well, we've already discarded it to Fraying Omnipotence, then that we discarded 0. Then we exile 3 cards, so it's kind of like drawing 3, and then we get to have to end a turn to play them. So just kind of looking for ways around like having cards in our hand, and both of these Chandras kind of work in that way. And also the +1 to deal 2 damage to any target, certainly pretty relevant as well. If your opponent has just taken half their life, you can just Chandra a couple of times and kill your opponent that way. Or sometimes the -9 could be relevant since we have some nice kill spells here. We get to search for any number of red and instant or sorcery cards, which you could have a couple to tutor up. Can't search for the Fraying Omnipotence with this one, unfortunately, because it's black, not red. But then we can cast them, and we can add 6 red mana to help us cast that. So it's a pretty reasonable card. Mostly we're just looking here at our pluses, though. We still have Liliana, the Dreadhorde General, just 2 copies since it is 6 mana. So we're trying to keep our curve to the mostly at 4 and 5. And Liliana does have some nice, obviously if we do have to sacrifice creatures to the Fraying Omnipotence, we get to draw cards. We -4 to make our opponent sacrifice 2 creatures maybe after we've cast the Fraying Omnipotence, and they've lost half of their creatures. Maybe they just have 2 creatures left. Liliana can minus. And then each of our creatures that die, whether zombie tokens or whatever, we get to draw cards. And of course, -9 is just pretty insane. We are running 3 copies here of Fraying Omnipotence because we want to find it often, but we don't necessarily need it like in our open hand, obviously, things like that. So 3 feels pretty reasonable. 3 Chandras here, 3 of these Chandras. Also running 4 Rekindling Phoenix. Just a creature here that's very resilient, and it works extremely well with Liliana. So it's a 4 mana, 4/3. If you've been around since Ixalan, then you certainly are familiar with this card. Saw tons of play. Sees a little bit of play in Historic, but I haven't really seen it in too many lists. But yeah, it doesn't just a fantastic card. It is a mythic, so might not be easy to acquire if you're a little bit newer to the game. But once you do get to the point, if you are in Historic, Rekindling Phoenix is definitely something to look at if you're into that creature-based decks in red at all, whether it's mono red, Gruul, Rakdos, whatever. Rekindling Phoenix is just a super powerful card. 4/3 flying, of course. Whenever it dies, you get a 0/1 elemental token. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you sack the token and get Rekindling Phoenix back onto the battlefield, and it gains haste until end of turn. So your opponent needs exile removal to deal with the Phoenix, otherwise it just keeps coming back over and over. It's very fantastic because you can get this obviously offensively as just a powerful 4/3 flyer for 4 mana, or defensively as well. You just hold it back on defense, protect your Planeswalkers. If your opponent has a bigger creature, then it dies. So what? You get a token, and then you get it back your next turn. And if you want to, you can just start swinging in the air if you get your opponent's life total low enough. If you have to sacrifice it to your Fraying Omnipotence, you don't care. You get the token, and you can get it back your following turn. If you have to lose your Phoenix for any reason, from blocking, sacrificing it, or whatever, you draw a card from that with Liliana. You get the token, your upkeep. You sack your token, you draw a card. That's pretty sweet. All right, the Liliana hero run is the Waker of the Dead. I tried, a couple copies at first, but she felt a little bit awkward. So I think one copy feels right. Maybe she doesn't even belong in here, but I feel like she's worth running, and she's Liliana. So try to make room for her. So 4 mana, 4 loyalty, +1. Each player discards a card. So if our opponent still has cards in their hand after we Fraying Omnipotence them, we can make them discard whatever that last card may be. And if they're out of cards, which is certainly likely, they lose 3 life. So it's a nice way to kind of help us deal damage to our opponent's life total, just like the Chandra is, and especially with them losing half their life total with Fraying Omnipotence. You can see how it's pretty powerful. And if she sticks around long enough, the -7 to get creatures out of our opponent's graveyard is pretty fantastic. We're basically just running the Phoenix, and we do have a couple Kroxas here as well, but that's about it on our side since we're more of a controlling deck. And we do have the Extinction Event here as our board clear of choice here in the main. Well, we do have the Cry of the Carnariums as well, but Extinction Event kind of lets us hit bigger creatures as well. So just one here in the main for a little bit of protection. Obviously, we do have to be careful for even, because it will exile our Phoenix and we'll get that sweet value. But sometimes you just kind of have to do what you got to do. Orazca Relic is a little bit of a flex slot. It's been pretty medium. It does obviously synergize with the Fraying Omnipotence and the fact that after you've resolved your Fraying Omnipotence and you're empty-handed, then you can sack it to gain some life back, the life that you've lost, and draw a card. So anything you've discarded, you'd have to have the City's Blessing to activate that part of it. Otherwise, it just taps for colorless. So it's pretty medium card, but I do like kind of the synergy to sacrifice this after the Fraying Omnipotence to gain you some life back and draw you a card as well. So I think it's worth taking a look at. I think you need I feel like you want some kind of effect in that regard. We're also running 1 copy of Risk Factor for kind of similar reasons. If we have to discard this for any reason, whether it's a Liliana, the Fraying Omnipotence, or whatever, we can just jumpstart it and cast it again out of our graveyard. And target opponent may have Risk Factor deal 4 damage to them. If they don't, you draw 3 cards. Well, we're a control deck, so you're not going to be putting pressure on the life total in the early game. So they might just look at this, and then they take 4 damage. And then a couple turns later, you Fraying Omnipotence them, and now they're down to 8 because they were at 20. They took the 4 from the Risk Factor down to 16. They lose half their life from Fraying Omnipotence, we're back down to 8. And then you've got a Chandra on board, maybe a Liliana in your hand or something like that, and you can close out the game pretty quick from there. So you can definitely get your opponent off guard by taking that 4 damage. We can definitely punish them later on. And if you jumpstart this later on, and their opponent life total is already low, one just draws you 3 cards. So win-win for us, really. But it is a little bit of a obviously, you have to have your other cards, your Omnipotence and your Planeswalkers, for this to actually be good. Otherwise, your opponent just takes 4 and it just doesn't matter. So definitely just feels like as a one-of. And maybe if you don't have this, it is a rare. So if you don't have this in your collection, then it's fine to maybe just run something else. Running Bedevil here as our kill spell. Obviously, Fraying Omnipotence forces your opponent to sack their creatures. So we need ways to also flexible removal on Planeswalkers as well. So we're running Bedevil. Also, since we're running Planeswalkers and running Historic, the Immortal Sun is a pretty nasty card. If you're not familiar with that, it shuts down Planeswalkers. It is expensive, it's hard to get to, but it definitely does show up. So the Immortal Sun, 6 mana artifact. Players can't activate Planeswalkers' loyalty base. So it shuts down all Planeswalkers from all players. That's pretty nasty. And we're relying on our Planeswalkers to actually get us some value. There are some passive with Liliana's drawing cards and things like that, but not really good enough against the Immortal Sun. They get to draw an additional card, and then their spells cost less, and also makes their creatures +1/+1. So pretty nasty card. We definitely don't want to deal with that on our opponent's side. So we need something like a Bedevil to answer that as well, especially in the main with how important our Planeswalkers are. So we are running 3 Cry of the Carnariums. Aggro decks are super relevant in Historic right now with Elves and Goblins, of course. And if you can get to this on curve, then you can kind of wipe out your opponent's board and really kind of stall them out as they have to kind of rebuild and don't get all that momentum going. Mazemind Tome is an artifact that lets us scry, draw cards, and then gain life once you've put 4 more page counters on it, which you put a page counter by tapping to scry, or by paying 2 and drawing a card. So even if you don't have mana open, you can just scry. So it's kind of similar to Treasure Map, but you gain the life instead of making treasure tokens that you can then use to draw cards later on. And you can just straight up sink 2 mana into it to draw a card right away, which is pretty reasonable in certain situations, since we are kind of playing at sorcery instant speed with some of our cards here with Risk Factor, Bedevils, and things like that. And certainly the life gain is very critical with Fraying Omnipotence and lots of creature decks running around out there. And since we are firmly into a control deck, Kroxa fits in pretty nicely here. Obviously works well in the late game. The one thing I don't like about Mazemind Tome is it does exile. If it went to your graveyard, this would be amazing synergy with what we're trying to do. But I still think we need the life gain and the card draw that Mazemind Tome provides. But back to Kroxa here. We can escape it from 5 other cards, which we do have lots of removal spells, so we should be able to fill up our graveyard. That plus Fabled Passages and things like that, which is kind of a must if you're running something like a Kroxa where you need to fill up your graveyard. And then when it comes down, you're already getting that sort of discard theme going on, which we have with Liliana and Fraying Omnipotence, which works really well against any sort of mid-range or control decks. And even aggro decks, if you have this on curve, can be decent to get maybe one of their more powerful 3 or 4 mana spells out of their hand. And for some additional early game interaction, we have 3 copies here of Eliminate. It's going to make them hard to sack creatures to Fraying Omnipotence if we've killed their best early threats and you've preserved your life total, which is super important. All right, so 25 lands is what we're running here. 6 Swamp, 5 Mountain, 4 Blood Crypt, 4 Dragonskull Summits, 1 of Arch of Orazca, since we are a late game deck, obviously. And we also got the 4 Fabled Passage, and then 1 Field of Ruin. You need some kind of land destruction effect, and Field of Ruin just nice, kind of a utility. So this is what we're running here in the main deck. We do have Kroxas and Bedevils and things like that, so I don't want too many utility lands. But obviously Fabled Passage can fix us and fill up our yard to escape Kroxa at some point. But yeah, since we do need card draw after like a Fraying Omnipotence, Arch of Orazca is a nice, efficient way to do that. And then Field of Ruin, because you do need ways to deal with your opponent's non-basics. Sideboard here, if you do want to try this, try your hand with this in ranked, it's kind of what I've been working on here is 3 Agonizing Remorse, 1 of Elderspell, since we're pretty Planeswalker heavy. We want to kill our opponent's Planeswalkers and put loyalty counters on ours. Obviously, we do have the Eliminates and the Bedevils in the main deck as well, but Elderspell really helps if your opponent is running some kind of a Planeswalker pile as well. 2 Lava Coils when you really need that early game removal. Pretty reasonable for exiling as well. Necromentia to take out your opponent's best threat when they're pretty one-dimensional. And it can be anything other than a basic land, so you can even choose like Field of the Dead or Ugin or whatever the case may be. We're in Rakdos, so we don't have ways of dealing with enchantments. So we have a couple copies of Pharika's Libation. Obviously against the Shrines decks, it's going to be a struggle. So you might just lose to the Shrines, but it is what it is. A couple Flame Sweeps for some additional aggro tech. Just being able to do instant speed is fine. And 1 more Extinction Event here. A little bit of Graveyard Hate in the Leyline of the Void. Maybe you could go to 2, but I'm not sure what you would cut. So I'd like having at least 1 in here, and then a couple Chandras for those control matchups. You can even take out Liliana's if you have to for this, just get Chandra 6 in just so she can't be countered, and give your opponent an emblem. That's pretty sweet. All right, this deck, jump into some matches. All right, against Eisenwolf. Boy. Can we keep this? We have the Tome. We'll probably draw a land. Alright, what's Morgan? It's not really better. We still have the Mazemind Tome. I guess we pitch the Heart of Fire, since he's 5 mana, and hope the Tome can find us some red lands. Leyline of Abundance. Alright, well there's a mountain. So we just need a second mountain, and we should be decent with this hand, unless our opponent just ramps and does crazy stuff. I'm not sure what that has to do with Leyline of Abundance, but okay. Alright, so we're looking for a second red source here, but we're probably just going to fire off this Cry of the Carnarium so they don't get any momentum going whatsoever. Alright, well that kills 3 of their creatures. That's pretty reasonable. They hit for 1 here. So they lose the Clan Caller, which means Elite just a 2/2. So we'll scry. Upkeep, stop. Upkeep, stop. Hello? Nope. Fine. Alright, well, let's clear the board. Scry again, Dragonskull. I have 2 more lands in hand, so I think I'm fine with... No, I mean, we could preserve our life, but we're at 19, and we just cleared the board, so we'll... It's time to get the Chandra ticking up, but I think we'll just go for the Phoenix. Risk factor... I think we can do better. The Planeswalker, maybe? Extinction Event. That's pretty sweet. Maybe we'll just fire off the Chandra then. We could have Phoenix Arch, but that's fine. We'll plus. We want to get that ticking. Kroxa. That sucks, but oh well. Alright, so we get Chandra's loyalty ticking up. There's another Phoenix. Alright, we'll tick. Typically the first thing you want to do with her, so if it's a land, you play a land from her, or it gives you some options on what spells you want to play. Been forgetting to use this Mazemind Tome. We're at 3. So it's gonna fire off here pretty soon. One more use of it, and it goes away. Next turn we can Phoenix plus Tome to draw a card. It might actually be better than just scrying. And of course we can... Alright, what's our opponent doing here? They got 3, 3... Oh. Are you serious? Are you serious? All 3 drops. Whew. Please. Please, opponent. Yeah, we'll draw. Go to main, play you. Alright, so we have Extinction Event. Gonna be forcing our opponent to concede. It's eliminate, which just sucks, but we don't care. Swing 4. Extinction Event. Odd. Alright, what do you got, opponent? Concession incoming? Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Alright, it's Death Reaper. Hand's okay. I mean, Chandra and Phoenix are pretty good. Mazemind Tome on 2, plus 4 lands. Not terrible. Alright, so obviously lead on the Blood Crypt, Dragonskull into Mountain, into Fabled Passage on 4. Seems pretty reasonable. We'll figure out if we want a Phoenix or Chandra first. Alright, basic Mountain from our opponent. Not usually a good sign, but we'll see. Mono red, is it? Another Mountain. Goblins. That's very clever, opponent. Running the best deck in Historic in the unranked play queue. Aren't you special? Well, we don't have any of our sweepers, so we need that. We're taking 3 here. Basically need Cry the Carnarium off the top, or probably just dead. No Skirk Prospector. Eliminate. I guess we keep that. Let's fire this off now. Yeah, pretty much all the removal we can get. Of course, we have the Cry against Elves. Chandra, don't need another one. Alright, upkeep. No, why do you not work? Why do you not work? I guess we just play the Phoenix. Let's try to find a sweeper. Another Phoenix. Alright, so looks like we got our stop now. Hopefully this works this time. Maybe I guess we just hit it too late. Okay. Cavalcade of Calamity. We get some life back. Orazca Relic. This passage. So we're still on defense here, so let's play out the Chandra, uptick, leave the Phoenix back to block. Oh. I mean, they only have 2 creatures out, so it's not super impressive, but we don't really want to lose that since our build around. Okay, they get to Krenko. Gem Palm, kill the Phoenix, swing in for 1. Do you have a shock or something? Deal with a token? I guess they hit 2 for 2 with the Cavalcade. So we need a sweeper here. So they have Volley Veteran and Krenko. So you're going to swing for 2 at Chandra. Alright, well, you take 2. And no blocks. So it preserves our life total, we'll take it. And pings them. Alright, so always uptick first. Relic. Alright, we'll play you. And play you. So we have a couple blockers now. But we need a sweeper here to deal with goblins. I don't understand Cavalcade. I guess if they're all in on like Krenko, but Krenko's legendary. And they're running what, 80 cards? 80 card mono red goblins. I mean, there's lots of goblins. Alright, so Chandra's basically dead, but we can kill a token, I guess.
Now you're asking for it. Time to fight fire with fire.
We have a backup, always keep them busy. Let's kill a token.
It's over when I say it's
Get
over.
our Phoenix back. Fraying Omnipotence. They lose 2 of their creatures. Don't love it. We do have the City's Blessing, so we can crack this relic at any time. We'll just get another Chandra uptick. I'd rather save it, but it's gonna go to waste. So we will just kill this Snoop. Got some pretty sweet value off of that. Alright, so anytime we can fire off this Omnipotence. Kind of want them to go a little bit wider, although it is kind of scary against goblins. But fortunately they're playing a pretty janky build with Cavalcade and like 80 cards. So with an Omnipotence in hand, we will save the Orazca Relic until we can get more value. That's pretty reasonable. Let's play you.
If I were you, I'd just surrender right now.
Put opponent down to 6. Make them sack their 1/1s. Does that even do enough? Just make a 2/2. Let's just make a 2/2. Okay, Brash Taunter, you tapped out, and we've got 2 Phoenixes. Cool. So they hit for 4.
Back off! How uncivilized. Now, don't be pushy.
Alright, our turn. Yep. So that's why you need Phoenix in here, deal with those situations like that. So the plan was there to, well, just attack with Phoenix, but we're gonna be a little bit cute and kind of show off. So we're gonna uptick Liliana, make another zombie, so we'd have 4 creatures out. Then I was gonna fire this off, sacking both zombies, and making them kind of lose their board, and just kind of show what we were capable of, especially being 18. Just kind of flex on the Goblin deck a little bit. But yeah, I guess if you're all in on Krenko and Cavalcade, but you're 80 cards, like how do you even see those consistently? I don't know. Alright, against Uther Pendragon. Wow. Only 2 lands, but I don't know if I want to say no to this. Alright, we'll put our faith in the deck to provide lands. Fountain of Renewal. It's annoying. So there's mono white or Orzhov life gain. Oh gosh, Dawn of Hope. That's why you need like Pharika's Libations. So our opponent's going to take 4 here from the risk factor. Just doesn't really matter too much. Wow, they just tap out for all the life gain. Alright, well, take 4. Go to 18. You're actually thinking about this. Yeah, there you go. Alright, Blood Crypt. Get this Phoenix down. So not real confident in our odds here. Dawn of Hope is going to give them a ton of value. Mono white life gain, just an annoying deck. No creatures yet. That's interesting. Okay, opponent is just drawing a million cards. Well, swing for them. Keep their life total in check. Pass the turn. You have a million cards in hand. Okay, we kill our Phoenix here, so we get the token, and that'll come back next turn. They still have 2 mana open, so they could have another seal away. But at least force them to use it. Okay, Resplendent Angel, they gain some life. We'll get our Phoenix back. There's a land. Beautiful. Alright, kill the Angel. Don't even want to give him a chance to block. Don't want to give him a chance to gain life, protect it, anything. Just go away with your life gain shenanigans. So we have another Eliminate here we can fire off at instant speed. We do have the Omnipotence, which actually comes in pretty clutch against these sort of decks. Hopefully they just tap out here to gain some life. Nope. A Vanguard. Okay. So they're just slow rolling a bunch of creatures. So still don't want to fire off this Omnipotence yet. Want to have a little bit more control over the board. Maybe get a Planeswalker down. Definitely don't want to discard Liliana. We need one more land to actually cast her. So mono white Devotion. There's a land. Beautiful. Alright, so we can play you. Swing for 8. Alright, so they surely are running Settle the Wreckage because it's historic. So we'll have to play around that. I'm guessing they even probably have it in hand and they'll leave mana open this turn, especially with the Nyx Lotus. We have to keep an eye out on that. So figure out how we want to play around that. Divine Visitation. They just tap out for Divine Visitation and they're at 9. Are you sure? Are you sure that's right, opponent? Johnny is welcome. Okay. Alright, so Mazemind Tome. Play you, and we have 4. Yeah, we're at we're short. Okay, so let me see. How do I want to do this? So if we minus, they lose their board. We lose a zombie and a Phoenix. We swing for 4, but they're going to untap, and they can just keep making tokens after tokens. We plus. We make a zombie. They have to sack their Leonin Vanguard. They block a Phoenix, take 4, and they're at... Okay, so if we swing first... No. Alright, what's plus? Let's fire this off.
Rise and shine.
And so the discard happens first, so now we get to actually draw and keep these cards, which is pretty amazing. Swing 4, they block, go down to 1. Our Phoenix dies, we get the token, and we can cast it next turn, and we draw a card. See that lovely interaction there. With the risk factor, we could just keep lands in hand, but I think I just kind of want to have as many options open as possible. So they need something good here. They could sell the wreckage. Okay, Ixalan's Binding on Liliana. Okay, so they probably do have that settle with their last card. We'll see if they fire it off.
So easily.
Okay. They just tap out just to make a token. And make another token. Yeah, these decks are super annoying with this Divine Visitation stuff. I mean, if you let them get set up, I mean, we're Rakdos, we can't even deal with enchantments. I mean, we got pretty close, but odds are we're just not gonna be able to push through. So Ixalan's binding, so we can't even cast this Liliana. We can Chandra though, but we only have 2 Lilianas anyway, so yeah, well, plus another Phoenix that we can't cast. We can risk factor and discard the Liliana, but yeah, we'll just keep these angels off the board. They have to block at least one of them. Alright, so we get tokens that can potentially come back next turn, and we just have to hope that they whiff, although with Dawn of Hope they can just keep making tokens, especially with the Nyx Lotus. So super annoying. We got super close with that Fraying Omnipotence and kind of negating their life gain, but fortunately we just kind of came up a little bit late. Okay, the Immortal Sun, they still have mana from Divine Visitation, but they only make 1 token. They do get a bunch of life though. So they're up to 9. Alright, so we need a way to deal with this token. So we can't use Chandra. Our opponent with a nice. Sure. Alright, none of these cards really do much right now. So we hit them for 4. But they're just going to keep gaining life, keep stalling us out. Just like, it's just such an annoying strategy, honestly. Let's see if we can find a kill spell. Bedevil. Oh, these planeswalkers. Are you serious? On all of our dudes. All of our Chandras. Yeah, I mean, Divine Visitation. I know people like the card. It's super frustrating. Sure.
The best thing about zombies is their adoring obedience.
Yeah, there's no way we can win this game. Well, that was frustrating. We got super close there, but yeah, we just Rakdos can't really deal with enchantments. We'd have the Libation in the sideboard, obviously, but with these Johnny's Welcomes out as well, like they're super hardcore on just trying to meme out with life gain and making tokens with Dawn of Hope and things like that. And obviously, Resplendent Angel is super powerful. So, yeah, it is what it is. Not a fan of life gain. Just always frustrating to play against. Like, you have to have, like if you have removal, you just kill everything that they play and they just sit there and do nothing. Or if you don't have the right removal or whatever, then they just gain a bunch of life and they just frustrate you if you're like a creature deck and you just can't, you can get them low, but you can't quite finish them off. So, just kind of annoying. Just not really something I enjoy playing with or against. But you know, Divine Visitation is a good card with tokens, and obviously it pairs extremely well with the Dawn of Hope, which is a powerful value engine, and especially against what our deck is trying to do. I mean, yeah, we got close with the Fraying Omnipotence. It's a fun little card. It is a rare. It's hard to use. Even when we cost it, it wasn't quite enough to actually win the game, which is kind of what you need from cards. Cards like this. But I mean, if we had found a kill spell, eliminate or anything like that, then obviously we could have killed their token and potentially closed the game or been in a position to kind of close out the game. But unfortunately, we just kind of hit all of our Chandras. We found our Liliana after they played the Immortal Sun, and we need the Bedevils to deal with the Immortal Sun. We saw it right there. That's super critical. So that's why we're running this over like a Murderous Rider or something like that. But yeah, the Extinction Event and the Cry of the Carnarium is pretty clutch. Like Kroxa here as well. Mazemind Tome was pretty nice to kind of scry into some stuff. We just got super unlucky against the life gain deck with them shutting down our Planeswalkers and us not being able to deal with their enchantments. Because it's not something that Rakdos does. We have some discard effects, but not really in the main. Obviously, Liliana's a little bit there. Like if they didn't have the Immortal Sun, we could have made them, taking 3 damage with Liliana, and that would have definitely helped us close out the game. And they shut down our Chandra pretty hard, so that was pretty unfortunate. Could have maybe been able to draw us into eliminates or stuff like that. And yeah, just super awkward finding all 3 of these. The Relic kind of gave us a chance to kind of draw us into maybe some removal, but just was not meant to be. And you can see how the risk factor can kind of hit them for 4, and then they can kind of get punished for it later on with the Fraying Omnipotence and things like that. But yeah, it's a super fun card. Definitely some different directions you can go in with this. Just like the kind of the control Planeswalker package, because it kind of gives you some alternate win conditions as well, and kind of ways to actually close out the game after you've resolved a Fraying Omnipotence. And of course, an excuse to play some Lilianas. But obviously, Chandra is really the star of the show with the card draw and the direct damage here from these 2. And then Phoenix is just a really powerful utility spell creature. Can kind of play defense and block keep our Planeswalkers alive. And then once you've controlled the board, start swinging in and hope you close out the game just with the Phoenixes. So yeah, and sideboard can definitely be tuned if you want to kind of actually try this in ranked. So it does have some pretty decent power level thanks to the Planeswalkers. Definitely you can get people with Fraying Omnipotence. It's not really a card people expect or know how to really play around. So super fun. Obviously works well against control decks if you can get them shields down so they can't counter it, and they discard all their powerful counter spells and Planeswalkers, whatever. So that's pretty super sweet. And yeah, just a fun deck. Alright, thanks guys for watching, and until next time, make sure you jank with a